On the second link I sent you. Gotcha. Hello, everybody. Thanks for tuning in. We're gonna get started in a couple minutes once everybody figures out the second link we sent in because we had some difficulties. Let me know if you guys can hear us fine in the comments, please. Hello, everybody. Thanks for coming to our We Want You webinar.
Hello, welcome.
We're gonna get started now. So introductions of our hosts. We have Kathleen. She is currently your Vice President of Administration for like a couple more weeks.
R.I.P.
As you can see here, she's a very great person. And then
That's it, Allison. Thanks. And then we have Allison Brown, our Membership Development and Education Chair. She is a greater person and funnier and wiser. And she got blacklisted at Starbucks. Just kidding. It's a joke.
okay, so we are also gonna post a link for questions. It's a Google form. So if you guys have questions throughout the webinar, write them down before you forget them, and send it to us, and then we'll be answering all questions at the end. Okay, so Kathleen will post it in the comments right now. Moving on. To start off the webinar, we're going to start by talking about executive board positions, since that is the 5 people in charge of our entire club.
So first we have President. As you know, that's Mr. Eddie Castillo. So President, they basically run general meetings and board meetings. They're like the bridge between our division and our club. And they also work alongside with e-board, obviously, and basically just oversee everything, making sure the club is going smoothly. And then next we have Vice President of Administration. So that's me. So basically, what I do is I help oversee appointed board, and I help delegate tasks to them, making sure deadlines are met with each and every appointed board member. I'm also help the president out whenever they need help, and I do a lot of like interpersonal like communications within board. So anything with like board dynamic and board bonding, and making sure any problems are resolved within board or maybe outside of board, like with committees or family stuff. I also help with that. So yeah. And then next up, we have Vice President of Service. So Vice President of Service is obviously in charge of all our service events. They help make the calendar with our single service chair, and they make sure each event has chairs. They talk to different community service organizations to see which events that we can go to, and yeah, they help promote service. And next up, we have secretary. So secretary is a lot more behind the scenes. They do all of the they make sure everyone turns in serfs. They fill out the MRF and the MRS, and they send that out to the district. So all of your hours from service, fellowship, and leadership are all taken account of from our secretary. And then next up is treasurer. So treasurer just oversees the entire club budget. They work alongside with the fundraising chair too to raise money for our different DFIs, which is our district fundraising initiatives. And so yeah, they help promote fundraisers with fundraising chair, and they also just make sure the club is afloat with our money, making sure we have enough each month and at the end of the term for the next board. And I forgot to mention that our secretary does work alongside with our MR&R chair, which is our membership recognition and retention chair. So they also do that.
Moving on to nominations and elections. So this is coming up real soon. So nominations are gonna be on February 18th, which is at our next general meeting on Monday. So how nominations are gonna work is we're gonna have a quick normal meeting, and Eddie's gonna go up there and speak like he speaks, and then we'll start nominations. So in order to be nominated, you have to have somebody else from the club say, like, if I was gonna nominate Kathleen, I would say I, Allison Brown, nominate Kathleen Pengenbon for the position of president. And then after I nominate her, somebody else is gonna have to go, I, Allison Brown, second that nomination. But it obviously can't be me twice. But yeah, so somebody has to nominate you, and then somebody has to second you. And then once that happens, then it's your turn to stand up and say, you can either I graciously decline or I humbly accept.
I, Kathleen Punganibon, graciously decline.
Yeah, and that's the basic nomination. So if you were aiming for a position, let's say you want to be treasurer, then hopefully somebody nominates you, and then you can also be nominated for multiple positions. So it's a possibility to be nominated for all 5 positions on e-board if everybody thinks you are a great person to be nominated, I guess. So then after nominations, after you're nominated, you have a week till elections, and within that week you should be getting ready for your speech and your caucus, and you also have that week to step down from any positions that you do not want to run for anymore. So let's say you got nervous and on the spot you accepted president, and then you were like, oh crap, I don't want to be president, then you still have a week to step down and withdraw your name. So then on the 25th at the next general meeting would be elections. So everybody who is running for a position, you get 5 minutes to be on the floor. And you can divide that up between how much you want it. So you can have speech, you have a speech and caucus to do. And a caucus is just basically answering questions. So the 5 minutes, you can do 2-minute speech, 3-minute caucus, any order of that, 3-minute speech, 2-minute caucus, and then they'll cut you off at the end of your 5 minutes. So moving on. So the first person that's gonna go up is president. So everybody who's running for president will do their speech and do their caucus. And then at that time, the club, all dues paid members who are not running for that position, will vote. And then they'll call all the nominees back in, and then they'll announce who's president. And then the order is going to go as president, vice president of administration, vice president of service, secretary, and treasurer. So if you're running for multiple positions, make sure you are ready for multiple positions. And if it happens where you're running for president, and let's say Kathleen's running for president, right? But the club does not vote her into presidency, and she loses the battle. But she has the option to drop down to any of the other 4 positions that have not gone yet. So then she can drop down to VPA, VPS, secretary, or treasurer on the spot. She just better have a speech ready to come up with. Yeah, we're going to keep going, and if you have any questions, remember Kathleen posted the Google form questionnaire in the comments, so put your questions there and we'll answer them all at the end. But don't forget them, so write them down.
Also, at the end of elections, and any endorsements can be made. So if you think someone should run, or if you think they're very qualified, you can endorse them, and then say why, and then we vote on that too. So you can be endorsed for any position. So president, VPA, VPS, secretary, or treasurer. It's just a matter if people agree with your endorsement.
Okay. The next set of positions that are on our board are appointed board positions.
So currently we have 11 appointed board positions. Just to read them out, we have fellowship chair, fundraising, graphics, historian, Kiwanis family, membership development and education, membership retention and recognition, marketing communications. We actually don't have a scrapbook chair, but we do have a service chair, special events, and tech chair. So, wow, look at all of these positions that you could run for, not just e-board. So the way that appointed board is appointed is the next slide, but I could talk about what each one kind of entails. Just a little quick summary because there is a lot. So fellowship is basically this chair is in charge of all of our socials, and so they plan all the socials that we have, club socials to be exact, and they help make spirit items for FTC and Decon, and they help create cheers for our clubs. So we could use these cheers at like CKI South, FTC, Decon, all of that stuff. And then moving on, we have fundraising. So this chair works closely alongside with treasurer, and they basically just help the treasurer plan and find fundraisers. They help promote our DFIs and help turn in money for all that. And they also do small things like Happy Sad Change or larger events like what we have this coming Saturday, like our sports tournament. And then next up is graphics chair. So basically all the graphics that you see, pretty much like 99.99% of them are made by our graphics chair. So all of our newsletters, our banners, our Facebook posts, our Instagram posts, all of that is made by yours truly, your graphics chair. And wow, go tin. And this chair also works closely alongside with our marketing and communications chair, since they work with the newsletter and making all the articles. So that's that. Next up, we have our historian chair. So historian chair is basically in charge of all of the pictures you see, all of the videos that you see, our scrapbook, and yeah. So all of our scrapbook meetings are held by our historian committee, which in that committee we'll talk about later, which that entails too. But yeah, basically historian, everything that you see in a picture, you could thank our historian chair. And so next up is our Kiwanis family chair. So our Kiwanis family chair lies in between all of our other Kiwanis branches. So Key Club, Builders Club, and our Long Beach Kiwanis. So this chair just keeps in touch with all of our other friends in different clubs, in different Kiwanis branches. So that's what they do. And next is our membership development and education chair, which is Allison. So basically, she oversees the whole family system and the mentor-mentee system. She helps like delegate the family heads and keep track of them. And she also helps plan new member induction. So all of that is thanks to your membership development and education chair. She also is in charge of other fun things like a Soxination and webinars. So moving on is our membership retention and recognition chair. This chair is basically every week where you see Golden Nugget, you see someone get recognized, or maybe it's Golden Waffle for the month. That is thanks to our MR&R chair. That chair definitely looks out for people who have been doing the most in the club, and we just want to recognize you guys for all of the hard work that you put in with service, leadership, and fellowship. And then next up is our marketing and communications chair. I mentioned this a little bit before with graphics, but they also all of the Instagram posts, Facebook posts, or Facebook events that you see, they're made by our marketing communications chair. They also help run our tabling events for each semester, and they help plan those events for our members or for potentially new members. So all of that is done by marketing communications chair. Um, Scratch that on scrapbook because that is part of our historian committee now. In the past, we used to have a scrapbook chair, but this term we decided to incorporate it with historian. And then, so next up is our service chair. So our service chair does work very closely alongside with our VPS, and they help basically just find new service events, help make the calendar with them, and help chair events and anything they do to help the VPS. Next up is our special events chair. So this chair is actually the first chair we had this term. Our e-board decided to make it this year because since our club is growing and we do have a lot of club specific special events for you guys, we decided to make this chair. So right now this chair is basically the EA, aka the executive assistant for each of our large scale events. So new member induction, key to college, winter retreat, banquet, all of those really big events that we have for you guys, that is helped planned by our special events chair. And then last but not least, our technology chair. This chair, they help make our club website. So if you haven't checked that out, it's always posted on at the end of our prezzies every general meeting, which is posted after every Monday. So, and this chair also makes those prezzies too, and just with any tech stuff that our club needs. And if you see on our little side, it says eBoard can add or remove positions if they please. So I kind of mentioned that without saying it before. So I said that we removed a scrapbook chair, we added a special events chair. It was just things that our e-board saw that we thought it was best for our club at the moment. But we've had different positions in the past. We've taken some out, we've added some. So it's always subject to change in some way, just depending on the new e-board. All right, and moving on. So how a-board is appointed.
Okay, so after the e-board is elected, they will release applications. So they have to create these applications, decide who they want to be, how many e-board positions they want, and they will release applications for 1 week. So it's going to be open for 1 week, so you have 1 week to fill out all their questions they have for you. So it's basically like a job interview, kind of like if you were going to fill out a questionnaire like that. It's a bunch of questions you fill out, and then the following week they will conduct interviews. So let's say I'm running for technology chair, then I would have an interview with e-board. As it's not guaranteed that you'll get all 5 e-board, but you can have up to all 5 e-board members present during your interview. So then you'll sit down with them. They'll ask you a bunch of questions, review stuff with you, yep, just a bunch of questions. And then the following week, A-board will be announced at the next general meeting. So once E-board has decided who they would like on their A-board, it will be announced at the next general meeting. So unlike E-board, where the club votes on them, A-board is not voted on. It is voted on by E-board only, not the club. So that's why they're appointed board and not elected like E-board. Yep, I'm going to keep moving on. Just remember, if you have any questions, we do have the questions link up. So fill out your questions, and we'll promise we'll get to them.
Wow, Allison, information. Those were a lot of ways to get involved, but what if I don't want to be on board? I don't think I'm ready yet. I think I'm a late bloomer, but that's okay. So here are other ways to get more involved. Oh, look at all these cute pictures.
There's tons of ways to get involved, and we're going to go over them.
Starting with family heads.
Okay, so family heads, as you all know, all of you guys have 2 family heads. So applications will come out for family heads towards the end of the school year. So unlike board positions, family heads terms go from school year to school year. Not school year to school year, from the beginning of the school year to the end of school year. That's what I'm trying to say. So they're in term until the summer, and then their term is over. And what family heads do is they just watch over their family, make sure everybody's doing well, feeling welcome. They plan all the family socials you guys see and service events. If your family has had a service event so far. And they also help plan events like Family Wars. That's what Lyle and Giovanni are doing in this picture. If you've been to the Family Wars in the past, the family heads did plan those games, and they hosted their games. So this year we had 8 family heads, and they got appointed just like A board was appointed. So there was applications out, and then after the application process they had interviews, and then they were announced at the general meeting. So just like A board, they are appointed they will be appointed by the MD&E chair. So whoever the MD&E chair has will get to appoint their family heads. This year there's 8 that is subject to change depending on how many families the MD&E chair wants, but typically there'll be around 8.
So next up are our formal committees. So we currently have 4 formal committees at the moment, which is our new member induction committee, which is led by our MD&E chair, which is Allison. So this committee is basically they just help set up for a new member induction. They help with decorations and all the event planning, all the logistics. So and all those decorations you see. So, and then, so yeah. And next up is Key to College. This is ran by our Kiwanis family chair. So, basically, they also send out their committee forms, and then they pick committees, or pick people for the committees, and they help run Key to College for basically Key Clubbers who are going into their college years or who just want to learn about college in general. So we have that event hosted for them. And then next up is our fundraising committee. So both fundraising and historian committee are year or full term committees. New member induction and Key to College are both just event planning committees, but with fundraising and historian, they are picked in the beginning, right when that specific A board chair is appointed, and then they make their committees. So fundraising, if you guys bought a Valentine's Day gram, they helped set that up, and they made all of the Valentine grams for you guys, and basically they just help plan ideas and more ways that they could raise money for you guys to give back to our club and to give back to our DFIs. And last but not least, we have our historian committee. So this, I mentioned it briefly before. Our historian committee consists of our photographers, our video editors, photo editors, our scrapbook chairs, and yeah, so all of those things that you see, that is from our historian committee. And we did get some questions, so I'm going to answer one of them right now. So, do you need experience to run for executive board? I would say no, you don't. Maybe for one position, but as in general for running uh, for executive board, I don't think you need the experience. I think you need the passion to run for executive board. Um, it's definitely a lot more work if you are a new member going in, but a lot of new members do go in um, from eBoard or for eBoard. Oh, but the one position that I did say that you may want to consider having a little more experience on board is probably VPA, just because they do run appointed board. All right, moving on.
So there are other things that we wanted to talk about that you can do without a title. So you don't have to have a board position or to be family head to still get involved and help out your club. So some of the things you can do is chairing events. I know a lot of general members right now are looking to chair events, and it does give you the leadership experience. So chairing an event is basically just notifying people about when carpool is, sending out reminders, organizing carpool, and then making sure the event runs smoothly, everybody gets there on time, and all that good stuff. You can also help create and find events. Like I know if you like to volunteer at this specific place every weekend, then you can go ahead and tell your VP the new VPS, and they'll probably be very happy that you found an event and put it on the calendar. We also host leadership events like scrapbook and spirit meetings, and that does give you leadership hours. So that's a good way to be more involved helping with events like that. And then just overall being more active and help welcome new members. So it takes a lot to start to be comfortable with people. So if you would like to help out and just make everybody feel welcome, that is another leadership ability that you can help our club with.
So going beyond the club level, so we don't just have leadership opportunities within our club, but also our division and district. So uh, our division is Metro, so we have our lieutenant governor and our division leadership team. So our division leadership team consists of different positions, such as various special events chairs, um, MR&R chair, and an EA, and all of that jazz. So basically, you're helping out our division with whatever they need, and you're helping out the lieutenant governor too. So if club was something that you didn't want to do anymore, or maybe you just didn't want to do it at all and you want to go straight to division, be my guest. Go ahead and run for DLT. And then next up we have our CNH district, which has our um, executive district governor, secretary, treasurer. we also have district chairs and district committees. So if you didn't want to hold a very high position, you can go for district committees or district chairs. Some district committees that I can think of right now are FTC and Decon, and be fun and member recognition. I know Caitlin's on that one, and Olivia and Ethan are on FTC. So those always look super fun. So if you really like those events, or if you really like recognizing people, or maybe when you go to Decon, you really like Decon and you want to be on the Decon committee, you do that. We support you. Long Beach supports you.
So just like the the club level, the division level, and the district level, if there's an event that you really like, let's say FTC was your favorite event, or member induction was your favorite event, then there's a position or committee in charge of the events. So if member induction was my favorite event, maybe I'd be interested in becoming MD&E or being on the committee. Same thing with district committees. If, let's say, CKI South was your favorite event, then there's a position that is in charge of CKI South. So look into which positions are in charge of which events and stuff like that.
All right, questions time. So we posted the link. Sorry, we thought we posted it before, but now it's in the YouTube chat. So go ahead and send in your questions, and we'll give it a minute and start answering some.
So I'm gonna get going on the first question, and it is, what is caucus? So is caucus is basically like after you finish your speech on the floor running for the position, any dues paid members that are in the audience, Long Beach dues paid members that are in the audience, can ask you any question they would like relating to the position. It could be like, what are your ideas for the position? It could be like, what would you like to change, or what do you think you can do better than the term before? Like questions like that. Is basically what caucus is, and you just have how much time left of your 5 minutes to answer as many questions as you can, so the club can get the idea of what you want to do with the position. Okay, the next question is, do I have to go to decon to run for a district position? I'm gonna go back real quick. So the district positions we talked about was um, the district governor, the DGov, the secretary and treasurer were all part of executive board, and those ones you do have to be at decon to run for. I do know district chairs and district committees come out after decon, so I'm not really sure when those applications come out, but they do come out after um, decon, so you do not have to go to decon to run for a committee or a district chair.
Also, I believe you have to get endorsed by your home club. So if that's something you were really planning to do, I believe you can do that at our elections day, which is the 25th.
And if you want to be endorsed by your home club, talk to our president, Eddie, first, so he knows that you want to be endorsed.
All right, next question. Can you explain what an executive assistant is? So, an executive assistant, depending on what kind, they basically just help run the chair. They're kind of like a VP in that smaller sense. So, for example, when I mentioned special events chair, I mentioned that they were the EA for whatever chair was running that event. So, for new member induction, Allison is in charge of the whole event, and the special events chair would be their EA, which basically they could help. They're basically like their right hand man. They help with like anything they need with like logistic wise or planning wise or setting up wise. Like they're basically working as a team together. So I hope hopefully that kind of explain what executive assistant is.
Okay, and next question we have is, what if I can't go to the nominations meeting? And that's a good question because we did not address that in our webinar. But basically, somebody can still nominate you. So if Kathleen decides to stay home, I can still nominate Kathleen, and she has to either accept or decline later in the week. And I believe Eddie will reach out to everybody who could not attend to the meeting, and will be like, hey, you were nominated for president. Would you like to accept? And then if you do not get nominated, if you were not in attendance and you are not nominated, you still have the option of running on the floor. So after all the presidents who are running for president, they finish their speeches and caucuses, then the floor is open up to anybody who wants to run on the floor. And you can run on the floor without being nominated. But you do not have to be at the nominations meeting to be nominated.
So next question is, what if I can't go to the elections meeting? So, if you're not running for a position, that's totally okay. You just won't be able to vote for the new e-board. But if you are running for an e-board position and you can't go to the elections meeting, I would say you should talk to the past e-board and maybe we can figure something out. Maybe you could skip class, skip work if you really, really want to run, but I believe that you would not be able to, like, say your speech or caucus because you won't be there. But we can always get back to you on that if that actually does happen.
And the next question is, what if I don't want to dress business casual for elections? Um, our elections is business casual, so everybody should in attendance should be business casual. That is the people running and the people in the audience. It's just our way. The audience member is just a way of paying respect to the people running. And the people running, you want to dress to impress. Like, you don't have to go all out, but you definitely should wear nicer clothes than you normally wear to school. Like, I wouldn't wear like a t-shirt and jeans, but I mean, you don't have to like wear a blazer either. Like, as long as you like dress up, it would be considered business casual. Just dress up a little bit more. And if you don't, that just looks really bad when if you're running and you don't do business casual. In my opinion, that just looks really bad on yourself. Like, I think you just want to impress the people you are running in front of.
So definitely 10 out of 10 recommend please dress business casual regardless. All right, next, when applying for a board, does the new e-board interview? Yes, so the newly elected e-board that the club elects will do the interviewing process for appointed board.
Okay, and then the next one is, what advice would you give if you ran for a position and don't get it? So if you ran for a position, I'm assuming you're talking about executive board, or actually, I guess you can be talking about a board too. But there's always more chances. Like, we went over a lot of things in the webinar, so there's a lot of chances to be involved. Just like, even if you don't have a title, you can still be involved by chairing events and getting involved in other leadership opportunities. But like, if you don't get an e-board position, there's like a lot of things afterwards that you can still do. So there's still e-board positions, there's still family head, there's still committees. So I just wouldn't get discouraged and keep going. If that is what you really wanted, like you really wanted president and you only want president, then still stay involved. Like I said, chair events, do all these things to gain more leadership experience, and then the next year you can always run again.
My advice is, yeah, definitely don't get discouraged. There's so many opportunities to get more involved with the club, and everyone's like very supportive here. So no matter what you do, we here for you. So next question, can you go over endorsements again? Sure. So basically, endorsements are needed for district positions, but it looks better when you run since your home club is supporting you. So the three possibilities of an endorsement is: one, a unanimous endorsement, which is 100% vote from your club; two, a majority endorsement, which is over 66%; and then anything less than 66% of the club is no endorsement. So these can be any district positions that we mentioned and including LTG.
So you can get your home club endorsement and you can also get other club endorsements. So if you wanted to run for LTG or district governor, then you can get your home club to endorse you, and you can also get other clubs to endorse you. So maybe I have a lot of friends over at UCLA and they really believe in me.
So yeah. So you don't have to be nominated to be endorsed, but you do have to tell, I would say, the president that you want to be on the ballot. But yeah, you don't need an endorsement to run though. I guess you don't need if you don't want the support from your home club, it's okay. We understand. All right.
I believe that is the end of the questions we have now. The form is still up, so we're gonna keep hanging around for the next couple minutes. And if you have any more questions, just put them in the form, and we will keep answering them.
Ooh, bonus question. Who wants to get tofu soup? Me and Allison.
Yeah, always. Who doesn't want tofu soup?
I guess a little bit what me and Allison can talk about while people are sending in more questions is our experience on board. So Allison, you've been on board for a while now.
Oh no.
How would you say your experience has been?
I had a pretty different experience. So I was nominated for vice president, or nominated or elected vice president of service my first year. So I guess the spring of my first year. So as a first year, I went into the VPS. But at the same time, my whole e-board was first years, except the VPA, because the VPA kind of needs a little more experience. But my entire board was first years, so that was kind of like we were like going at it, doing our best. So I was on board with Ethan, Cindy Pham, Wileen, and Sean, if you guys remember them. So we did pretty good. It was a lot of work. Takes a lot of my time, so that was a lot of work. But I also did the next year. I did Family Head, so I really loved Family Head. I got to have like 20 children. I don't remember my exact number. I think we actually had 19 children. So that was a lot of fun. It was a lot less of a commitment. So all I had to do was plan a few family socials a month and go to meetings. So I had a lot of fun with that. It's just a lot of bonding with your family. And then currently I'm the MD&E chair, and I love MD&E too because I helped out on new member induction committee for the past 3 years. I've been on the new member induction committee, so I had a lot of experience with that. And I was a family head before, so I just jumped into the full role of being in charge of all the families. And it's a lot of fun. My family heads right now are a spunky bunch, and they try to listen to me as much as they can, but I do recommend picking a position which you would have time for. For obviously an e-board position, you're gonna have to dedicate a lot more time to other than other positions. So just keep that in mind when you're applying or you're going for a position, how much time you're willing to put in. And we have a few more questions, so let's go over those.
All right. So, what is the most challenging thing about being on board, and what's the most rewarding? Ooh, great question. Whoever asked this, brownie points to you. So I would say the most challenging thing about being on board is, well, at least I would say for my position right now, is accountability of others. So as a board, you work together to help each other out to make this club better, but you have to put in a lot of trust in others for them to do their job. So um, you know that you're putting in the work, and you don't know if everyone else is going to put the same amount as you. So I think that is the most challenging. You have to put in a lot of trust in people who you may not really know when you get elected or appointed. So yeah, so keeping count of others and just, yep, I would say that. Also, what is the most rewarding? Ooh, definitely the the memories you make, the experience you make, and the friendships you make are the most rewarding thing that you could have on being on board. Like doing all of the behind the scenes planning and like busy work is, not gonna lie, like it's stressful, but it's always good stress at the end of the day, because when you see all of the work that you put in with the help of your board, and you see how much the members enjoyed this event, or when someone like says, "Hey, great job on this event. I had a really great time." That I feel like that's very rewarding, because you know how much like you worked.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yep.
Allison
So-
agrees with me.
Yeah, so like especially like after you put in a lot of work, so like if you have a big event coming up, like I know Treasure is working on our banquet right now, and but as soon as banquet happens, he like Jonathan and the special events chair is putting a lot of work for our banquet right now, but as soon as banquet happens, they'd be like, that turned out pretty nice. I'm glad I put in all the work. And then they might cry a little bit, but it's okay. So I think it's just rewarding, especially the big events. For me, like member induction, like seeing how successful it was, like during it and everybody having fun was like all the late nights made it was worth it.
Yeah, and that was definitely me for like winter retreat, and I did help plan banquet last term because I was treasurer last term. So definitely those like large scale events that we plan, and like not even just that, like when we have our first general meetings in the spring and fall, and we see all of these potential new members, that really gets us excited for the new term and see how much potential that our club can have. So moving on.
The next question we have is, what would you do differently on board? Oh, that's a tough question.
Ooh.
Differently, it depends. Like in my current position, membership development and education, I did have more webinars planned that I didn't quite get through because I procrastinated, and then I was like, oh, I was supposed to do one last month. So I would definitely put more webinars out and focus more on the educational process, because it's membership development, which is like the more of the family part, and then the education. So I would have put more um, educational opportunities out for you guys, because I feel like I lacked in that aspect. But I am doing this webinar, so yeah, some of the education parts are getting through. Um,
For me, in my position, I would say that's really hard, because I did implement a lot of new things this term with BPA. So, uh, so far, it's been going good. I can't really think of anything I do differently now. Maybe, I think I would have, like, talk to the new members a lot more. In my opinion, I think I focus a lot more on like the administrative and logistic sides of like everything that this club has to make me do. But I always miss like talking to like more people and going to Mercer's events, and because sometimes I forget. Sometimes I forget that the club isn't just leadership, it's also fellowship and service. So all three combined makes it the best of three worlds.
okay, on to our next question. It is any general tips? Okay, let me restart the question. Any general tips for speech and caucus prep? So what I would like, this is something we did differently than past years. Is where if you're running, you're in charge of how long your speech is and how long your caucus is. So I would plan that out to get the best of both worlds. So I wouldn't recommend doing a 5-minute speech and no caucus, or 5-minute caucus and no speech. I would try to plan it out so it's almost half-half, or a little bit in between. So it's not just like one or the other, and you don't just keep rambling on your speech and you run out of time for caucus. Other things you can prepare for is just know what your position does. Like know the position, know things that you might want to implement. So if you were running for a VPA, then you should know like, oh, I want to make these changes, or I want to do this differently, or I really had this great idea. So have some ideas of where you want to take the position. Yeah, that's what my advice is, Kathleen.
I definitely have similar advice. Like, new ideas is also something that sparks interest to the audience. Like, if you don't see anything that you want to change on board, why run for it if it's just going to stay the same? Like, we're always looking for improvement and just growing as a club. And also, I would say have confidence because you could bomb your speech and that could be the worst thing you said in your entire life. But if you had the confidence to bomb it and if you had the confidence to answer all these caucus questions because you bombed your speech, like at least you had that and at least you had like the confidence to like say what you needed to say in those 5 minutes. And say if you couldn't answer a question, that's okay. At least you had the confidence to answer something. Like stuttering and like uh and all that, like it could happen, but
Just keep going.
Yep.
Don't stop. Everybody stutters. Everybody gets nervous a little bit, but just don't let that bring you down. You still have 5 minutes to make up for it. So keep going. Okay, we have another question that just came in. It says, can you guys talk about the historian chair again? Like, what task is the historian responsible for? And for activity like scrapbook, where do we get the materials from?
All right. So basically, historian chair. Before we did not have a historian committee, so they would be in charge of all the photo editing, the photo taking, scrapbook making, all of that stuff, and uploading it on Facebook for our members to see. But now, since we have a historian committee, the chair just oversees the photo editors, picture takers, the video editors, and all of that jazz. So basically, that's what they're responsible for. They're also responsible for holding historic committee meetings and making sure that their committee members are accountable for their duties. And for scrapbook, you get the materials from basically anywhere you need them to get the where you need to get them, but you don't have to pay out of pocket. So which with each chair, um, you get a board budget from your treasurer, and depending on what budget that you get for your scrapbook committee or your scrapbook chair, um, then that's how much that you have to buy your materials from. So a lot of the things that you buy, a lot of the things that you need to buy on board, you probably most likely will get reimbursed in some shape or form. Hopefully, it's in money form. But yeah, you wouldn't need to worry about like not having enough materials, not having enough resources. Like we all have it for you. Your board has it for you, and that's why like we work together as like a committee and then a board together.
And I think that was our last question. If you guys have any more questions, that is our email and Kathleen's email and my officer email. So with each position, everybody has an officer email. So go ahead and send us some questions or stop us in the hallways. Yeah, if you have any questions, you guys can still keep reaching out to us until nominations next week or in further on past that. And also, if you are interested in a position, I recommend you reaching out to who has that position now and ask them more questions about it because they are the experts in the position right now. So, yeah, reach out. If you're interested in a position, reach out to the person who is holding the position now, and hopefully they can help you out. Okay.
Yeah, thanks for coming, guys. Like what Allison said, nominations and elections are just around the corner. So if you have any dying hard questions or want a more in-depth scope on each e-board position, come talk to us. You know who we are: Eddie, Kathleen, Alexis, Jennifer, and Jonathan, and in that order. So yeah.
We are posting the sign-in link now, so go ahead and sign in so we can give you credit for being here and listening to us for,
For a good hour.
yeah, it has been an hour.
Nice. We're only gonna leave the sign up link open for the next 10 minutes. So just in case anyone tries to slip in one right after or a little bit later, we are closing it with by 9:16. So we're posting it right now. And thanks for all the comments, guys. We've been reading it throughout the whole webinar. So if you heard us laugh a little bit, maybe that was because we messed up, or maybe not. But we see your comments, and we love you guys.
Yeah. Good luck with anybody who's going to apply for any positions.
All right.
Bye, everybody.